If it gets any thicker, I'll have to give it an aspirin.
Welcome to Baking with Frank. Frank Rush was a baker at the turn of the 20th century at the Uffelman Baking Company in Cincinnati, and then at his own bakery in Newport, Kentucky. Frank was also my great-grandfather. Through his handwritten batch-sized recipe book, I'm breaking down his recipes and getting to know him better. I'm Tom Mattingly, and this is Baking with Frank.
Welcome back to Baking with Frank. So you'll see we're in a different configuration today because we're doing one of the, well, we found out that one wasn't, candy recipes in Frank's book. The first one being the buttercreams that turned out not to be buttercreams. This time though, this is an Effie recipe. Effie, as you'll recall, was my step-great-grandmother. She passed in 1951. So this recipe hasn't been made since at least 1951. So we're gonna give it a shot. So, chocolate fudge. Tip you down here so you can see what's going on. Thankfully, Effie uses regular measurements. So that makes my life a little bit easier. So we have a cup and a half of white sugar right there. We have 2.5 tablespoons of cocoa powder, approximately. Might have been heaping. I measure chocolate with my heart. And 1/2, so the recipe, wait, look at me. The recipe says a half a can of milk. We bought canned milk for one thing. I used it. I didn't buy it for this. So we're using half and half. And in that goes. All right, I'm going to give that a quick preemptive stir. And per the instructions, putting that on medium power. Per the instructions, stir and boil sugar, milk, and cocoa in pan until it makes a soft ball in cold water. So, here we are stirring. So in 1951, I would have been more than negative 15 years old. On a 90-degree day in Cincinnati, Ohio, it feels hot. Oh, should have mentioned. Because it's Pride Month, repping for the Stonewall Inn. It is one of our national landmarks. I don't care what anyone says. I'm going to pull in the cold water because we're not boiling yet, but you know, the hope is we will be soon. Hey, my finger's getting hot. Yeah, there's the burn of my favorite spoon. I'm going to turn that down so that I still have fingerprints tomorrow. And, I mean, you might be saying, why aren't you just using a candy thermometer? Well, one, I'm not sure if we have one. I'm betting we do, but two, I don't know where it would be if we did. And three, not how Effie did it. So we're going to stick with how Effie did this one. Starting to boil around the edges there. It's nowhere near thick yet. So we'll let that keep going. I'm sure we're not there yet, but just for kicks. Nope, fell apart. Now we're getting some action. Look at that. Because I can feel it getting thicker. If it gets any thicker, I'll have to give it an aspirin. Oh. So our next steps, just so you're all in the loop, after soft ball and cold water, add butter and vanilla. So we've got a 1/2 tablespoon of butter and a teaspoon of vanilla. If I remember, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. You know, we're going to measure that with our heart too. Cool and beat until creamy. So cooling gives me time to prepare a pan. Okay, that's soft donut stage. All right, I think that's it. We're going to find out anyway. All right, 1/2 tablespoon of butter, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, ooh, now that did something. All right, There's that. We'll let that cool for another minute. I'm going to move it over here. And hopefully this granite, I'm going to take it for granite, but hopefully that will help it cool down a bit. Okay, this seems like it's, wait, look at me. This seems like it's going to take a minute, so we'll be back. So, wait, look at me. I'm not a person known for my patience, so here's how it's going. I'm hoping the cold water will, cool this stuff. We'll see. Okay, so that actually worked. At least, I mean, it cooled it. We'll see what happens next, right? Bring our pan over here. What's this? Beat until creamy. I could be here a minute. So fudge is sacred in our household when we were kids, and even still as adults. We would go to Snyder's Sweet Shop in Bellevue, Kentucky, and what we always wanted was the fudge. And tastes have changed and we've evolved, but we get other things, but we still always want the fudge, my brothers and I. So we treat fudge with some reverence around here. Other than stick it in water because it wasn't going fast enough. But, generally speaking. All right. Get this to come out of here in a reasonable fashion. You can find Schneider's online, by the way. I don't think they ship during the summer because they make everything on site, as they have since the 1930s. It is likely somewhere that Frank went, having been from that area. Can't verify that, of course, but being in a similar profession, it certainly would not surprise me. All right, so we can get out of that. Using my brand new offset spatula. Very excited about that. Yes, I'm at the age where I get excited about kitchen tools. I'm okay with that. Beats not being at the age where I get excited about kitchen tools. I'm gonna stick that in the fridge, let it cool down further. It's still pretty darn warm. So I'm gonna stick that in the fridge and we'll circle back. Okay, back to our traditional view. And here we are. Let's see if we can get it to come out of the pan. Sounds like that happened easily. There we go. Look at that. I'm going to flip it over. Looks a little bit like a cow patty. If you know, you know. Bring in the big knife. Wasn't there a song in the early 80s about somebody's girlfriend being named Patty, Cow Patty? I have to Google that later. A little bit of chocolate buildup there. That's not a bad thing. All right, purely for experimental purposes, I'm going to use one of these little corners, so you don't have to watch me chew as long. Here we go. Oh yeah. Totally worth it. Don't regret the extra chocolate at all. Effie knew what she was doing with the fudge.